Hey, peace and blessings, everybody. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. I apologize that I had to change the time. Life be lifing, okay? But I appreciate your patience and I appreciate you being here. So come on in, y'all. We gotta um we gotta talk about some things today, as always, right? But today we gotta talk about some things because I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot going on, and timing really seems to be um, a catalyst of kind of discerning, in my opinion, right? The truth amongst the non truths. And I don't know, this live is designed when we're speaking on the drone situation for you to draw your own conclusions and to have your own thought process when it comes to if this is a play, if this is something that is truly intentional, um, or if there's some outside forces. Either way, we are not being told the whole story. We are not being presented with the truth. There is a huge lack of transparency when it comes to what is going on with the drones, right? So I just want to say, shout out to the chat. Y'all come on in. I appreciate your presence being here. A shout out and a welcome to the new subscribers. And if you haven't tapped your all notification bell button, please do so. I also want to send a specific shout out to my members as well as my wonderful mods. Okay, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Right, so we got Salaya Binya in the building. We got Bolo. Hey, babes. We got Cutting Edge. Peace and blessings to you always. And then we got the beautiful Phoenix Rising in the building. And to those that may be in the bushes or that come on in on the replay, shout out to you as well, right? So, in recent months, we got people in New Jersey, as well as now we have reports coming out of New York City, out of Brooklyn and Queens, specifically speaking, right? And those areas have reported an increase in drone sightings. And I find it particularly interesting that most of these sightings are at night. So when you look at footage, whether it's on the social media platforms, the news really, they're talking about it, but like I said, there is a huge lack, in my opinion, of transparency. But the footage that you see, particularly, does shine at night or is more clear at night because of the lights, right? Because of the shadows and the different colors, the movement in the sky. It's a lot harder to detect in the day. Not saying that they're not moving in the daytime. I'm just saying that at night it's more illuminated, right? So we're talking about in New Jersey, there have been sightings of at least 12 counties, reports in at least 12 counties, including a naval Air Force base or a naval base, right? Not Air Force, but naval base. So now, again, like I just mentioned, New York City is also experiencing a rise in reports. And I just find it super interesting. Here we are, we got 2 weeks left in 2024. There always seems to be something going on of a certain level of magnitude at the end of the year around Christmas. Always something going on. And to me, timing is definitely, it needs to be looked at, right? I'm just going to say it needs to be looked at, it needs to be considered, it needs to be acknowledged, right? So when it comes to these reports from New Jersey, New York City, different counties, cities, or whatnot, the government has, again, not been very transparent And they keep saying and reiterating that they have taken steps to investigate and address potential concerns. And in the same breath, they will also say there's nothing to be concerned about. Well, which one is it, right? People are wanting some answers. We're talking about airspace, we're talking about um, an avenue of activity that we just, especially when it comes to the drone activity, that has not been, even though we've been aware of it, it hasn't been like super, super visible to this magnitude to where you got thousands of drones being spotted at night. There's endless footage of these drones being active at night. So people want to know, okay, you got footage of different countries with orbs, right? Orbs are what they consider to be extraterrestrial energies and foreign objects and substances coming into the sky. There's all different kinds of explanation for footage. To me, I think a lot of it's questionable, and I'm just going to be honest. It's just my personal opinion because of AI, because we are living in a time where there is the ability to manipulate the whether it's footage, whether it's audio, the impression, and really fool people with artificial intelligence to mask it as being something that's authentically real or that is transparent, right? So you got the Department of Homeland Security has deployed drone detection and tracking systems to military facilities in New Jersey. If I'm not mistaken, I have heard that one of the bases got shut down because there were drones flying over it. Now, the FAA governs airspace, right? So, especially when you're talking about military bases, you can't convince me that there's things that get through. They have tracking systems and the ability to really, if there has any type of frequencies, radio, communication, movement, they're going to be able to detect it miles off, right? And in some cases, hundreds of miles. When it comes to military governing those spaces, thousands of miles. So you're not going to just piss on me and tell me it's raining, okay? I'm not buying it. And the fact that there is a lack of transparency with what the government claims that they know or that they don't know, they're being like super, super ambiguous, and they just don't want to talk about it. And I personally feel like they're insulting our intelligence when it comes to this and many other topics, right? I'm going to cover a couple of different aspects on how we can look at this. Again, this is just to provoke some thought, to give different perspectives on how you could look at it. There are so many different conspiracies out there, so many different stories, so many different avenues that you could totally look at this. I've heard content creators absolutely believe and promote the thought and content stating that there is extraterrestrial activity. It could be sent by God. It could be, the firmaments are broken. Who knows? Then I've heard that this is totally a psyop situation, where they're just priming us and programming us and getting us prepared to normalize them closing in on more of our constitutional rights as citizens of this country by the fear mongering, by putting everybody in a panic, by being super ambiguous, by not giving explanation to what really could be going on, what they're investigating, what their findings in their investigations are, yada, 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 yada. We could go on and on and on about that. But then again, you've got these these organizations and these government capacities, and they're not saying anything. It reminds me of 9/11. And I'm just going to keep it a buck. There have been several instances, and I'm not going to go off deep into them, but I am going to list them as to why people have such a distrust for the government's word, for their media portrayal, right? First of all, the media has been bought and paid for. In my personal opinion, fair use YouTube, all I'm saying is that's just basically what I believe. I'm not speaking for any specific entity or a spokesperson for anyone outside of myself. I am just saying that it's been compromised for some time now, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket and rely solely and totally on the media's word, or even like with their lack of transparency. They are still saying, you know what, no, this is not, we don't have the answers, we're investigating it. As we find findings, we will share them and relate them to you as well also, right? So either way it goes. Now I'm going to start off with I was trying to figure out how I was going to, like, what format I was going to use, and how to kind of push it in chronological order to get, because again, it's not going to be one perspective. But I think I'm going to start off with the gentleman spokesperson for the government, and I just want you to first listen to what he's saying, watch his body language, and then he's going to be asked a question by a reporter that I think is a very valid question, and then listen to his response, and then we'll talk about it. It's a short clip, but I did want to start with that. Hold on a second, y'all.
There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings. Some of those drone sightings are, in fact, drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones, and we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. And so that is the reality. But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded.
What exactly do you need?
We want state and local authorities to also have the ability to counter drone activity under federal supervision. That is one important element that we have requested, and we've heard it echoed by the state and local officials themselves.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit here. First of all, he says, to me, it's a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, right? It's nothing that we don't already know. You're doing your investigation. You know as much as we know. We need more control and more intervention from other governmental agencies to step up with their resources so you can get more answers. And at the end, he basically, my summary of what he's saying is that we need to be able to govern the skies and the airwaves and counteract. So we need to be able to respond to what we deem as being threats in the sky, right? That's just how I perceive it. Please feel free to engage in the chat if you interpreted it to be something other than what I thought I heard, right? So in my opinion, he's setting the stage. It's like enough ambiguity and enough cloudiness for you not to question him or hold his feet to the fire or the governmental agency that he represents, basically to have something come back and bite him in the tail. He made sure that he gave us a lot of word salad with things that we already know. He made it sound intellectual, and in some cases based with other people, that he's actually genuine and just as confused as the public is, which I think, even if that's the narrative he is pushing, that's alarming. That is alarming. The citizens of this country pay out the ass every single year. These people make wonderful salaries. A lot of these positions in these in the legislative branches are appointed for lifetime, and they're set. And yet and still we ask and request transparency, and they continue to do what they want to do, to say what they want to say, to hide what they want to hide, and to basically say, you know what, this is what you're going to get, deal with it, right? So I wanted to present that, but then there is this serviceman. Y'all excuse me, I've done my research, but my titles, it's like this is not my lane, right? So I know that the message and the thought-provoking suggestions that I am trying to portray and present, I'm not going to be real technical with it. So there's this brother that has been in the military that has specialized in dealing with drones, and he is going to differentiate the drones that have been sighted along with the drones, and how to identify if they are from the government or if they are foreign, right? If they can't identify, or if this is not governmental drones that are being released out, at night by the thousands in the airwaves. So I might have to stop this one because he gets really technical, and I had to stop it and kind of go through it again, but we'll just kind of go with the flow on this one. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat.
Because I have figured out what the drone situation is. I was in the Army, active duty. I worked on drones. I was a maintenance NCO for some surveillance drones. And before that, I worked on the Apache, the Kiowa. I know aviation. So what people are not noticing is that you have two separate types of drones and two separate types of things in the air right now. First off, the drones that you see with flight lights or anti-collision lights, or the things that the FAA requires, those are drones that are probably operated by the United States government. Now, the orbs that you've been seeing on the internet, that is the reason why all those drones are up there. And that is also why the government isn't telling you what's going on. And that's because the drones that you see that look like regular aircraft, those drones are up there to get some information on the actual orbs, which are actually the UFOs. I'm making this video because...
Okay, so what he says is that there are two different types of drones. He kind of classified it as orbs, which is classified as UFOs, along with the governmental, and they are specifically designed to be identified from those that are, military savvy, that are in the military, to be identified as actual military and governmental drones, right? Or drones that are identified as governmental drones. So I thought that there was a whole, I thought I had recorded, because he actually said more than that, but for some reason that clip seems shorter than the one. Okay, so give me a second if y'all don't mind, and I'm going to try to find the longer version, because he said some stuff that he actually broke down what the differences were, right? And that's the point that I want to iterate. I appreciate your patience. Just give me a second. There's new information coming out about these drones like every hour. They're all over the place with it because of the lack of transparency from the government. People are having to do their own research and find out own information and come to their own conclusions. I may or may not find it. I'm still scrolling, but basically what he's saying, again, to reiterate, is that there are different types of drones. A lot of people are misconstruing orbs as drones when that is something that he definitely deems as being basically UFO, right? Or unidentifiable foreign object. So, okay, instead of belaboring the point, we're going to go ahead and because we're going to definitely see the difference, and I'm going to show the actual orb or what an orb looks like. And this came out of China. Okay. And there was very good footage on this. So let's go ahead with that. And so they end up becoming closer up and more defined. And, you know, I'm telling you, I'm just going to say that I believe that I don't know if this is real or not. It is so hard with AI nowadays. People can manipulate graphics and videos to the point where it definitely looks real. Put it in on a social media platform, put a subtitle up there, and say what they want to say with it, right? But I just definitely, this is what one of the things that is circulating the internet. And I find it very, you know, to me, it's ironic. Now, either these have been identified over and over and over again for so many years that they have something to go off of because unidentifiable objects have been present. I think we would be naive to assume that we are the only planet on this world that has activity, that has life, that has movement, and that one universe will not impose or, you know, peruse the galaxy in order to go into other universes, right? And so I wanted to present that because that is kind of what they consider to be an unidentified object. There is some orbs. I'm looking for that kind of, hold on one second. I uploaded a lot of different videos, even though, you know, I'm not going to use all of them. But if I know I uploaded one that has orbs in it, and that definitely, hold on, y'all. Okay. No, that ain't it. Okay. All right. So, okay. I'm just, you know, I don't want to frustrate myself. So let's transition and segue into a pilot that actually had the conversation with FAA about activity that he saw in real time, and he's describing it, which sounds like an orb, but he can't really like ping in on it or say it for certainty because they move so fast and it was disappearing. According to his words, they were disappearing at a rate where he couldn't tell where they were going. The speed was past the speed of light, couldn't keep up with his optics on where it was going, how it dissipated. It was just way more advanced than what our capabilities are able to identify. So I do want to listen. This is more of an audio situation. Let's just kind of review that for a second.
Activity out straight ahead of us?
No, we're not seeing anything. I had another one report at like 30,000 feet in the Eugene area. We're not sure what it is.
Yeah, there's lots moving out there.
1506, yeah, they're looking into it.
Yeah, we're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, they're all altitudes up and down. It's pretty crazy. There was some at 30 probably. I mean, there's
Okay, so he means 30,000 feet. Okay, 30,000 feet. I don't know if you can calculate that or convert that into distance in your head, but that is high as hell, right? But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that when he said 30, they meant 30. He meant 30,000 feet. Let's go.
shooting way up. We say maybe up to the 50s, it looks like.
Is there traffic actually out about our 2 to 3 o'clock, about, I don't know, 20, 30 miles?
No, is that the 4 different lights going up and down? I'm getting a few reports, but you're seeing it right in front of you now too as well?
It's 2 to 3 o'clock off, about 2 to 3 o'clock from our position. Looks about 20 miles going in circles.
Okay, so just to kind of reiterate, she was saying that she got a few calls stating the same situation, or it sounds like the same situation that he is called in on, and they're saying that it's to their 2 or 3 o'clock, so it's to their right of their aircraft that they're flying, right? All right, let's go.
Medevac 1 Lima Foxtrot. Yeah, we're not seeing anything. Getting lots of different reports out there. Some at 30, some all the way up to 50,000. About 3 or 4 different lights. Does it look like they're around your altitude now?
No, there's one way up high and one about my altitude. Moving in like a circle, like a corkscrew pattern.
Okay, so he's saying now they're at 30,000 feet. And he's saying, nope, that is the ones that we're looking at. Some of them are much higher than where we are, and they're moving like a corkscrew, right? He's trying to be able to compile that in his brain and translate that so she can get an idea, because right now his mind is computing, I don't know if what I'm seeing is real, or how do I translate this so somebody else that is not in our aircraft watching this in real time can understand. Let's go.
All right, I'm visually have eyes on what looks like an aircraft strobe that's at my 2 o'clock and 22 miles at my altitude. I'm actually showing him on TCAS. Do you see that one?
Medevac 1 Lima Foxtrot. I do not.
He looks like he's moving towards, it looks like it's moving towards the north. Like I said, 22 and a half miles off my right wing. Just had another one show up about my 1 o'clock, about 1,000 feet high, zipping towards us and then back out towards the ocean. It's red in color, moving at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast he's moving. 661 on the clock.
Okay, so he's saying there's another one that has appeared about the 1 o'clock. So that has to be higher than the one at 2 and 3 o'clock. And he can't even describe how fast it's going, and it's of red color.
Medical Name Foxtrot, Roger. You are cleared to maneuver as necessary left and right to avoid the UFO out there.
It's weird. It's a red circular shape, and it keeps zipping out towards the ocean and then coming back in about, 20 miles or closer to us, and then it zips back out of the ocean and we can't see it.
Is there any military?
So again, this was to basically bring up the point that there are definitely, in my opinion, and based off of many that are out there that have been specially trained, that have spent their entire life's work becoming educated to go out and interact or put themselves out in that environment to interact with possible UFOs, know how to, linguistically communicate to dispatch. This is what we're seeing. I don't even know, like, if they got cameras everywhere here and you can't go anywhere with a camera here, why is it that he has to describe it instead of them being able to see what he's seeing? But I digress. It is what it is on that. So I want to next go to the purpose and the creation and the management of FAA, right? So the Federal Aviation Administration oversees the regulation of civil aviation in the U.S., including air traffic control, anything anything that occupies the airspace, the airwaves, certification of pilots and aircraft, and ensuring aviation safety. So I am showing this and bringing this to light because we're going to pivot a bit into a different perspective outside of the UFOs that is being, translated all over the airwaves, social media, putting people in a frenzy. There's all kind of stuff. Listen, humans are not the only species, and definitely not, in my opinion, the most superior species. I frankly believe that on the totem pole of UFOs, we are probably, oh gosh, I'm going to say this, the cockroaches. I believe we are the lower life. I really do, because we deal a lot from an emotional place. When you talk about UFOs, or when you delve into unidentified foreign objects, there always seems to be a level of superiority to humans in this country, or in this in this galaxy, in this in this world that we know of as our world. This is all we know because this is the only place we've been, right? So the FAA also manages the nation's airspace and enforce aviation regulations. Now, again, as I stated at the beginning of the live, I believe that timing is significant here. It seems like, when you're dealing with, what is it, Kumatra, you're dealing with numbers, numerology, astrology, you're dealing with things that are supernatural. There's a science to it all. They have different systems that are in place. The more you delve into these different systems and become more educated on how they work and how they get to the results and the outcomes that they do, it is like, okay, this is not by coincidence, right? And this is how I'm feeling without having the understanding of all of those things that I just named. It just seems habitually and strategically every year, when it comes, especially during election season, when we're transitioning with different rulership in the White House, there's always some mumbo jumbo. There's always something that throws the people off, that is introduced to us as being new, right? So I just wanted to make sure that we talk about the Federal Aviation Administration, because they are the governmental agency that takes care of the skies. Right now, they have dominion, and whatever legislation, rules, and laws are passed when it comes to the FAA, it's going to hold true. That's going to be law, right? So when you're dealing with, these are what some drones look like. And when the brother was talking about the difference in governmental drones and foreign drones, there's definitely a distinction, right? And so, hold on one second. I want to get rid of this. I don't even know how that ended up there. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, so I was thinking, so Miss Caitlin says, I was thinking about that. Grok produced a photo with a squadron of drones that could release pathogens or nerve gas. The government should come clean and let Americans know the origin of these devices and their intent. Now, China, during COVID in 2020, released a whole bunch of drones to spray the air to kill the virus. At least that's what the citizens of China were told, right? And you could see a bunch of footage of these drones in the air and all of these substances just being sprayed everywhere. You have no idea, because it's classified information, really what is coming out of them. But we need to understand the power and the ability and the maneuverability of these drones and all of the things that they are capable of doing. There's a lot that they can do, right? They can do good, they can do bad. We have to be aware of them all. And that's just the truth of the situation. So they can spray things that are good or bad out of them. Personally, I don't think they should be spraying nothing. I think our immune systems should be basically fighting off. But then if there are man-made illnesses or situations that are not natural, then it's designed, in my opinion, to attack the immune system. But I digress on that. Listen, we could go down that rabbit hole if you need to, but I choose not to at this point. And we're not going to make this a long live, but there is some more footage that I would like to basically present, because like I said, there are so many different conspiracies being circulated through the social media platforms and otherwise, right? So let's kind of touch on another source of the media and the narratives that they are spinning, right? So I'm just gonna say this. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Taking new action tonight as local officials demand answers after weeks of unexplained drone sightings across the Northeast. CNN's Polo Sandoval has details on a new technology being deployed to New Jersey.
The federal government now preparing to deploy drone detecting and tracking systems to 2 military facilities in New Jersey, where mysterious drone sightings began 4 weeks ago. That's in addition to what's already, according to the Pentagon today, a very robust intelligence network. But the time of the deployment, not yet clear, sources tell CNN. The president-elect offering a drone theory of his own about the mysterious sightings first reported over New Jersey, including over his golf course.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went.
Donald Trump's declined to say if he's been briefed on the investigation into the unexplained drones. He did seem to eliminate the possibility of foreign involvement, a theory that had already been previously shared by the current administration.
I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it.
Unanswered questions have hovered over some residents in New Jersey and beyond. Similar drone reports have come into authorities in at least 6 states now. The FBI, which briefed New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy Sunday night, insists many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft. DHS maintains the unexplained sightings don't pose a public safety threat and stated unequivocally that not all of them are airplanes.
There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings.
That does little to assure elected officials on both sides of the aisle.
They've been trying to discredit these sightings from the very beginning.
Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut told CNN that assurances from the government, quote, fall flat.
My fear is that the federal government knows little or nothing about most of these sightings.
2 weekend incidents demonstrated a disruptive potential from drones in civilian and military airspace. 2 men in Boston were arrested for trespassing after flying dangerously close to Logan Airport. And in Ohio, flight restrictions were temporarily put in place due to drone activity at one of the Air Force's most critical installations.
I wanted to bring that up because they're saying that they don't know what's going on, that they're they're investigating the situation. They know about as much as we know, yet they can tell us in the same breath that it's nothing to be alarmed about or concerned about, to avoid hysteria from the citizens of this country, right? That's going outside, and now people are looking and seeking this information, or the getting video and capturing all kind of footage when it comes to seeing these drones and these orbs or both at night, right? So now you're saying, okay, we got which makes sense. As President Trump-elect said, guess what? They know where it's coming from. They know where it's going. They know its movement. They are trackable. You are able to see them coming miles and miles away. There is systems in place where you're not just going to be able to hover and fly undetected over military bases. Come on now. We have technology that by the time we get it, it's antiquated. By the time the citizens get it, or what they call the lower lives, by the time we get the information, they're not even using that technology anymore. They're years out, in my opinion, more advanced, decades in a lot of cases out before we get the information. Once we get it, that's not what they're using anymore. You can pretty much bank on that. So the narrative and the story that's being told that, you know what, we're investigating. Okay, why don't you just say that, guess what? Because of national security, we can't put that over the airwaves. We would accept that, or I would accept that a little bit better than you just playing in my face and saying that we know what you know, but we have these highly technology infiltrated organizations, highly trained, that has intelligence and classified information for centuries that you will never in your lifetime be privy to, or you will never see. But we still don't know what you know. We don't know. Look, we'll get back with you on that. You wonder why the mistrust of the people come, and people don't want to talk about anything, or they don't want to trust anything that you're bringing to the table, period, right?
And tonight, the FBI in Newark is warning that they've received multiple reports of pilots in the air getting hit in the eyes by lasers from people on the ground, mistaking their aircraft for drones. And they're concerned tonight, Wolf, that things could even get more dangerous with people potentially opening fire with a firearm on those airplanes. The FBI warning not only is that against the law, as you can imagine, it's extremely dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous indeed. We're very worried about that. Polo Sandoval in New York for us. Thanks for that report. I want to bring in New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer right now. He's a key member of the House Intelligence Committee. He's watching what's going on right now very closely. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're working on legislation to try to boost drone detection. Federal officials are now sending those types of systems to various military facilities, including near your district in New Jersey. How far do you think that will go in solving this current issue?
Well, first of all, Wolf, I think it's critically important that they're finally taking this step. I've been calling for this to get technology in there, to work with local partners, local law enforcement, who are getting the brunt of the phone calls. We've been receiving a lot of phone calls. First, you can't tell people they're not seeing things that they're seeing with their own eyes, right?
That part right there. Quit telling us we're not seeing what we're seeing. I don't care what it is in the skies, including the chemtrails. They've been emitting fumes and chemicals out of these airplanes for years, but we're not seeing what we're seeing. I have lived close to an Air Force base, and I would see them emitting these things during demonstrations and during air shows. Y'all slick like that. They are slick like that, in my personal opinion, just like when you're dealing with instilling the fear and the fear mongering and the priming effect. We're preparing people to not just look at what's on the surface, on the ground, at eye level, but to consider what's going on in the air and in the sky now. So now attention has been put on that. Even if there is, and I believe that there is UFO activity. There has always been. That's why you got areas like geographical locations like Area 51. I'm familiar with Area 51, and let me tell you, you're talking about, I know firsthand the kind of security that is around for miles and miles, and towns in circumference in the perimeter outside of Area 51 that is not open to the public to walk through, to drive through, to fly through. There is no fly zones everywhere, but you are insulting continuously our intelligence by saying, guess what? We don't know what we know what you know, but we're investigating the matter. Come on now. 2024 not only has been the year of exposure, but you have a lot of people that are truly awake and truly aware that they are not for the people. It is not for the people's best interest. We have got to do better in that regard. And you wonder why there is a mistrust for people, for the government, from the people. And I'm going to list some reasons as to why. And I'm talking about some of these, or most of these, have been during my lifetime. And a lot of things I remember. And I also have lived through it enough to understand and to recognize the building of the mistrust as each situation goes on. But we're going to go ahead and do a little bit more of this, and then we're going to transition on as to why we don't believe y'all.
And I think the federal government, DHS and FBI have made a mistake by doing that. You've got to give people more information. And I think we're starting to see that. Obviously, Secretary Marcus said clearly people are seeing these drones, which is a reversal of where they were. And I think that's important. Don't tell people they're not seeing things, but you actually have to give them information. And I've called on this today, like, do a proper briefing. Get the FBI out there and DHS and FAA and tell people what's going on, right? And I think that information is critically important. And then my legislation, that's bipartisan, says let's give local law enforcement the tools they need to actually monitor these drones, to monitor the activity, and if necessary, to work with federal partners to get these drones out of the sky if they're going to places they shouldn't be, over reservoirs, over military bases, over airports. Let's make sure we're safe and that people feel safe.
In the past, you've said, Congressman, that you agree with officials that these drones don't appear to be a public safety threat. So how would you explain what's going on here?
Well, I think based on the briefings I've had with the FBI and Homeland Security and from our governor, I really feel, based on what I've seen, what they're able to track, that there's not an imminent public safety threat. However, that doesn't mean we shouldn't tell people what they are, where all this drone activity is coming from. Are they being used for any reconnaissance or any information collecting, right? Are they authorized, commercial? Are they there for, are they licensed or not? I'm not talking about little drones that people fly up at the beach or at their house. I'm talking about these large drones that people are telling us they're seeing and obviously sending in photos of. I set up a site today where people can send in information to us to help collect this information that I can share with the intelligence community and the FBI so that we have some evidence gathered, and then let's let the government tell people what exactly they know. And
First of all, a lot of these drones that are being seen, they say are the size of a SUV vehicle. Okay? That's a big drone. People drive those vehicles and you can seat up to 8 people in an SUV vehicle. Some a little bit more than that, depending on the makeup of the vehicle, right? The model. However, if you have drones at the rate of 30,000, 3 to 30,000, I don't know which one it is. To me, 3,000 is a lot. Even if it's occupying airspace, if it's visible to people on the ground, they're getting footage of it. That's alarming. Right? We can't go and we navigate through the air. We don't have any jurisdiction over the airspace. We barely are making it with the land. They have found loopholes over the centuries in order to make sure that they own most of the land and that the people get what's left or what they allow them to get. But then you turn around and then you say, as the government, that just take our word for it. Just take our word for it. Trust what we're saying, that it's not an imminent threat, that you don't have nothing to worry about, but we can't tell you what's really going on out there. Come on now. You pissing on me and telling me it's raining, them days are over. Okay? Not that they really ever existed for me, but there's a lot of people that believe that malarkey and they are just going with the flow. Now, I'm going to tell you why I have issues with believing anything that the government says in response to the drones or anything else. In my lifetime, I've experienced and seen the war on drugs. Okay? That is a whole movement, and we're talking about it started out in the 1970s when they were planting, when they figured out how to make crack out of cocaine, and it went into the poor neighborhoods. It was centralized into specific communities across the country, and it devastated people culturally, from psychologically to physically to generationally to financially. In every aspect, it has destroyed family hierarchies, family legacy. That was by design. Quit playing. These are the same people that's telling us to trust them and their word when they say, well, just trust what we saying. We gonna say this much. It's not a threat. You ain't got nothing to worry about. But we can't tell you no more than that, right? The drugs during the drug epidemic disproportionately targeted minority communities, and it also undermined the 4th and 14th Amendment rights. A lot of these laws are undermining the constitutional rights of the citizens of this country that stand on the very fabric that is what we are to stand on, and that should be the foundation of the legislation and the laws and the moral compass in the direction that this country should be going in, right? But then every time there's an act, there's some type of a war on something that catches the government's attention, and they put all of their focus in for whatever reasons that they do. It just takes more of our rights, in my opinion, right? From the war on drugs. And then we have the Patriot Act that happened after 9/11 that encroached upon our rights in 2001, right? Terrorism. Now, there's a lot of information, data, footage, research that has been done where a lot of people believe that was an inside job. I don't know 100% if that is the case, but it would not surprise me if the act or the proposal of the act behind closed doors was presented, and as it's been often said, they will create a problem where after that they will create a solution or present a solution to the very problem they created, to make it seem as if they're being proactive and that they really care about the people that they're supposed to serve instead of serving them. Now, with the Patriot Act, surveillance became cameras everywhere. Cameras everywhere. Privacy protections are gone out the window. Everybody is feeling some type of way, but it's without consequence or without any other type of change, because that propelled a whole plan that was in place years and decades, possibly before that, in my opinion, to make sure that people don't have privacy. You have publications, timeless publications, Behold a Pale White Horse. I read that when I was in my teens, and it was beyond my level and capacity of understanding at that time, because it seemed so far-fetched and it seemed like such a conspiracy theory, that entire publication, that man was crazy. He didn't know what he was talking about. And the very thing in that book that he talked about, we're living in right at this very moment, right? We're talking about reasons why we really don't trust the government and what they're saying at this point, right? And the privacy protections and the government surveillance has undermined the 4th Amendment of our Constitution in this country. Okay, so that's number 2 that I can think of right off the top of my head. Now, when you go back a little bit further, prior to me being alive, there was what they call an executive order of 9066. Okay, Japanese American internment during World War II violated due process and equal protection rights out of wartime fear. The key word being fear. Every single time they undermine the Constitution, they do it permeating and propelling a fear tactic or several fear tactics. Same thing with these drones. People running around looking halfway crazy trying to figure out what is going on. People going outside at night, people staying in at night if they don't want to go outside at night because that's when the activity starts, this, that, and the third, right? With those things, they all focus on fear. Let us instill the fear in the people. People will not be rational. They will not be clear thinking. And they will not make good decisions based off of the emotion of fear because it is an emotion. And guess what? When it's all said and done, we're going to still distract them with football. We're going to distract them with entertainment. We're going to distract them with the celebrity news. Man, listen. I'm so sick and tired of us being gullible. You see the play. They've been doing the same play over and over and over again and been getting the same results. In many's eyes, they call that insanity. Are we really that insane as a people to where we are still falling for the okie doke? Falling for the okie doke. If you look at the timing of it, you listen to what the media is saying, you leverage that against people in real life, like the citizens, the military, people that have hands-on training and experience when it comes to being able to give some logical perspective and answers that actually make sense of what's going on, of what the narrative that's trying to be spun upon us. How much more are we going, how gullible are we going, and how much longer are we going to be gullible with all of this information? There are so many different, what they call conspiracies out there, but at the same time, we are distracted. We are totally distracted while they are in the background priming us, giving us movies, giving us media, telling us what to believe, giving us these beautiful lies, and we buy it hook, line, and sinker. When are we going to wake up and change the mindset and not just digest it because they give it to us for food? We have got to do better on this. And then I can't forget COINTELPRO. Okay, this was between the 50s, the mid 50s, and 71s, the very early 70s, where the FBI targeted civil rights leaders and activists, i.e., the Black Panthers, infringing upon free speech and the ability for these people to manage their own people, their own culture, to do everything in-house. Why is it a problem when we do it, but everybody else and all of the other cultures across the world are given their ability to focus in on building their people? How come blacks don't get that same consideration. I just don't understand it. And COINTELPRO did it under the guise of combating domestic threats. When you got black people that make up 13% of the country, how much of a threat can they be? How much of a threat? All black people have wanted to do was be left alone. That's one of the reasons why integration has been so detrimental. It's been beneficial for every other culture out there because financially they have built generational wealth off of the backs of blacks. But how has that been going for people of color, black people in this country? You got drugs, you got the music, you got the disintegration of the family with Section 8, food stamps, medical benefits, all of these things, a monthly stipend through the guise of rent with a roof, a guaranteed roof over your head, and you pay 2 to 5% of what the rent is every month. But just make sure the daddy ain't in the home. Make sure the pappy is long gone. We don't even care. Just put a name down there. We don't care if he is or not. Why? And we're supposed to be the ones to trust that the same organizations, the same government, the same entity that has invested centuries in making sure that we do not progress as a people, we do not multiply, we do not procreate, and we do not prosper. These are the same people that's telling you, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I got this. All is well. We investigating. We figuring this thing out. And we should trust you. Why? Why? I just don't understand, y'all. I just don't understand. So, listen. I gave a lot of different perspectives. I'm not going to make this a long live with the hour mark. I don't know what's going on. I ain't going to even lie to you. I know what my discernment is telling me, and I'm going to go with that. But sometimes discernment is to be held close to the chest. It's not to be always magnified and uttered out to the world. Some things we have to have the discernment to keep quiet on because timing is everything. Hierarchy is everything. And God can do much more with his purpose than I can, right? So, salute to the chat. Salute to everyone that may be catching the replay. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you're catching the replay, if you're live, thank you to my mods. It is what it is. I know in this sector we got a lot going on, so I appreciate your time. I really do. And with that being said, we're going to bow on out of here, right? I'll see y'all soon.